beautiful beings. Welcome to your practice today. So today's practice was born out of a request from one of my patrons on Patreon, and it's all about stabilizing the lower back and the pelvis. So just simple things, nothing aggressive, to awaken and strengthen our center, the sides, the front and the back of our center, and also to awaken and strengthen the outsides and the back of our hips, the glutes, the external rotators and the abductors. So you won't need any props today. Let's get started together on all fours, hands and knees. And take your time, right? So as usual, wrists under shoulders and knees under hips. Allow the gaze to just settle softly onto the mat in front of the hands. And take a breath. So to begin with today, we're actually going to come a little bit out of our neutral spine. And we'll do this by pressing the mat away with the hands and lifting the front of your rib cage a little more up into the body. And what this will do is it will slightly flatten the natural curve of the lower back. And that's what we want for now today. So you're not going so far that you round back into cat pose. It's just a pressing of the mat away, a lifting of the front ribs up away from the mat. And now the curve of the lower back is slightly flatter, or there is not really any curve there anymore. So let's keep that. And now we'll just reach our right leg back. Tuck the right toes under on the mat and pause a moment and just re-establish. Hands press down, front ribs lift up into the body. From here, we'll turn our right leg out. So top of right foot turns out, right heel turns in, and now the right big toe is just lightly touching your mat. And you might feel that as you do this, the back and the outside of your right buttock has started to awaken and engage a little bit. And then when you're ready, let's raise the right leg just a little bit, definitely no higher than your right hip. And just feel what you can feel here in the body. Another inhale. And then let's exhale and release. Right knee to the mat. Return to all fours. Front ribs lifting away from the mat. Hands pressing the mat away. And let's travel into the second side, beautiful one. So start just by reaching the left leg back. Tuck the left toes under. And then just feeling again. Pressing the mat away with the hands. Lifting the low front ribs up into the body. When you're ready, start to turn the left leg out. So top of left foot turns slightly out to the left. Left heel turns in towards the center line of the mat. And left big toe is just lightly touching the mat. And then keeping everything as it is, let's float the left leg. And once again, left leg no higher than the hip. Otherwise, we'll come out of, or we'll collapse a little bit into the lower back. And we're really looking to keep lifting the front ribs into the body here. One more in-breath. And then we'll exhale and release. Left knee to the mat. Okay, let's tuck the toes, lift the hips, and come into our first downward dog. So take a moment just to arrive here. And as you arrive, let's start to bring the awareness a little more to the breath and the pelvic floor, which I like to think of as the floor of our center or the floor of our core. So as you inhale, allow the breath to travel down into the body, The lower belly and the pelvic floor receives the breath. And then as you exhale, feeling a little gathering and lifting of the pelvic floor up into the body, as though it's chasing the breath up and out of the body. And just try that again. One more breath. Breathing in, pelvic floor receives the breath. And breathing out, a gentle doming and lifting of the pelvic floor, chasing the breath up and out. Okay, let's inhale, rock forward to plank pose. And exhale, lower all the way down onto the mat, onto the belly. Untuck the toes and let's reach the arms back alongside the hips today. Palms face down, but let's dome the palms away from the mat so it's just the fingertips that are touching the mat or touching the floor alongside the hips. And we'll lift the chest and the head and the fronts of the shoulders away from the mat too. And you might already start to feel a really lovely engagement through the back seam of the body. All the muscles that support the spine, awakening and turning on. And then when you're ready, let's raise just one leg, just the right leg up. Keep the right leg reaching long, and you might even do the same thing. Turn the right leg slightly out. So the top of the right foot turns out to the right. Right heel turns in a little, and then we'll lower the right leg and same thing, second side, raise and reach the left leg long, turn the left leg out a little bit, top of left foot turning out, left heel turning in, and then we'll release the hands alongside the chest, press back to all fours, tuck the toes, lift the hips, and we'll come back to downward facing dog. And just 2 or 3 breaths here, beautiful ones, to experiment with the breath and that slight gathering and toning of the pelvic floor on the exhalation. Nothing forceful, nothing aggressive. Just working or practicing skillfully today. Take one more inhale in your down dog. And then on this exhale, let's step our right foot forward between the hands. Come into a runner's lunge. And keep the hands on the mat for the moment, and let's look down towards our back foot. And what we'll do is we'll step our back foot in about a foot's length, so we shorten our stance. So now we have a short lunge, and we'll bend our back knee until it lowers almost all the way to the mat. And when you're ready, let's come up into this very short lunge with the back knee bent and the hands in front of the heart. Take a moment, find the balance, and then feel just what we've already been practicing, the front ribs drawing into the body. Bring your left hand to the back of your left hip and feel the muscles beneath your hand engage or firm. And if that's really difficult for you, then you're definitely doing the right practice with me. So left buttocks firm, front ribs drawing in. Keeping that, let's reach the arms up overhead. Take an inhale. And then we'll exhale, hands to the mat and just step back, nice and easy, downward facing dog. Let's go to the second side. Left foot forward between the hands. Take a moment, look towards your back foot. Step it up a little bit. Bend the back knee, and when you're ready, lift the hands away from the mat. Come into your lunge. Hands can be in Anjali Mudra to begin with. So feeling really nice and upright. It's almost as though you feel your head is right up above your back knee. And once again, the front of the rib cage draws into the body. Right hand to right buttock. See if you can really engage those muscles beneath the hand. And then keeping all of that deliciousness, not necessarily easy, but really beneficial. Reach the arms overhead. One more in-breath. And exhale, let's bring the hands to the mat and step back. Downward facing dog. Take a few moments here. If you would like to come into child's pose instead, go ahead. And if you're in downward dog, once again, just playing with that gentle toning of the pelvic floor on the exhalation. We've got this beautiful hammock of muscles woven at our base, at the base of our pelvis. And we're just connecting with that, the floor of our core, if you like, as we exhale, feeling a gathering and lifting of this network of muscles. If you're in child's pose, coming back to down dog, and let's play with one more series of standing poses. So once again, right foot steps forward between the hands, but this time we're going to keep our stance really nice and long. So we'll come up, hands to heart center, and from here, bend the back knee about halfway towards the mat. Hands can come to the front ribs. We're containing the front ribs. The bottom of the sternum is drawing down towards the pubic bone. Left hand to left glutes. Firm the buttock as best you can beneath your hand. Bring the hands back to Anjali Mudra. Keeping the left buttock firm, start to straighten into the back leg. And you might notice that the engagement through the back of the left hip really helps and encourages a sense of release and opening through the front of the left hip. Let's reach the arms when you're ready. Just one in-breath. And on the exhale, let's take a lovely little twist. Right hand to outside of right thigh. Turn, left elbow outside the knee, hands to prayer. And if you're like me, the left buttock, the buttock of your back leg, might have switched off and gone to sleep. So see if you can re-establish the engagement there. One more in-breath. And then let's let it go, beautiful ones. Hands down and step back. Down dog. Second and final side. Hooray. Left foot forward. We'll keep our longer stance this time. Come up into your lunge. Take a moment to arrive. Find the balance, right? This can be quite concentrated work, so just notice if there's tension building around the jaw and soften the face. Return to the breath. We'll bend our back knee about halfway down towards the mat, or just do your best with that. Okay, front ribs, bottom sternum drawing down towards the pubic bone. Right hand to glutes. Firm the buttock. Hands back to prayer. Keeping the right buttock firm. Start to straighten into the back leg. Wow. That's it. Reach the arms up overhead. Another in-breath. And then exhale, let's turn again. Second side, left hand to outside of left thigh. Right elbow to the outside of the left knee. Hands or palms can meet in prayer. And then bringing your awareness to the back of your right hip, the right buttock, and see if those muscles are still switched on. One more in-breath. And then exhale. Hooray, let's let it go. Step back. Downward facing dog. Okay, so before we come down onto our backs, beautiful ones, let's play with a little bit of awakening and strengthening for the sides of our center. So rock yourself halfway to plank pose. Look at your left hand and step your left hand about one hand's length further forward. And then from here, just pivot to the outer edge of the left foot. Step the right foot halfway up the mat, right toes turned to the right, out beyond pointing beyond the right edge of the mat. And press the left hand down to lift the outside of your left hip up. We'll bring our right hand to our waist. Some of you might have automatically reached the right arm up towards the sky. Let's bring it to the waist for a moment. And as you press down and lift the outer left hip away from the mat, firmly press your right foot, your front foot, down into the mat. So there's this feeling of cinching in of the outer hips on both sides. And then the hand that's on the waist, let's press this gently down into the waist. So there's a little bit of extra resistance for the left hip to press up into the hand. Take another breath here. And let's let that go. Right hand to mat, pivot on the feet and just step back, downward facing dog. And last time, second side. So halfway to plank pose when you're ready. Right hand steps a little bit further forward, about a hand's length. Pivot to the outer edge of the right foot. And we'll step our left foot halfway up the mat, halfway between the right hand and the left foot. Sometimes we can have the left foot in a little close, and that can make things feel a little cramped. So you can allow the left foot to travel right out towards the left edge of the mat. Left hand to the hip, right hip lifts up, left foot presses down. Right hip lifting, left foot pressing down. And then you might use your top hand to press a little down into the waist and create just a little bit of extra resistance here. Let's breathe here. Another breath, just one more. And when you're ready, let's release. Left hand to mat, step back, hips up and back, downward facing dog. And then a moment to breathe here, connecting back to the breath and back to that gentle doming and lifting of the pelvic floor on the exhalation. And some of us might even notice that as we gather and lift our pelvic floor on the exhale, the lower belly kind of wants to join in with the party, right? It draws back and up into the body. So you can allow that to happen too. You can allow the lower belly to travel back in and up on the exhale as well, if you like. Okay, one more play with a little prone back bend. So inhale, plank pose, and exhale to lower. We'll reach the arms back alongside the body and just the same again, doming the palms of the hands away, fingertips on the mat. Lift the chest, the shoulders, the head. And when you're ready this time, float both legs up. If it's comfortable for you, then you might turn both legs out a little bit. So the tops of the feet turn slightly out towards the sides of the mat. Heels turning slightly in towards the center line of the mat. Let's take one more breath here, and then you might float the arms away from the mat too. And then we'll let go. Hands to mat, tuck the toes. We'll press back through all fours to a child's pose. And let's gently lift ourselves upright And we'll come and lay down on our backs, beautiful ones. So I think that might be enough for us today for now. Let's just enjoy a little sense of a release. Right ankle to top of left thigh. Reach through, figure four. Interlace the hands behind the left thigh or in front of the left shin. And if this is ever too much for you, you can always keep the left foot on the floor and just sense the right knee opening out away from you to the right. Letting go of any effort. One more breath in on this side. And we'll exhale and release and just switch sides. Keep it simple today. Left outer ankle to top of right thigh. And if this practice felt really delicious or helpful for you, then please feel free to subscribe so you're up to date when new practices are available. Or if you'd like to explore a longer form, full version of this practice for stabilizing the lower back, then that's available on my Patreon. And the link is in the description below. Okay, beautifuls, on your next exhale, let's release and take a final hug of the knees in towards the chest. And as we let go today, those of us that are a little tender in the lower back might choose to take Shavasana with the knees bent, the feet wide, and the knees falling in toward one another. Or if you happen to have a blanket or a towel nearby, then you might take that and roll it up into a sweet little roll so that you can have that behind the knees as you stretch the legs out long. And for some of us, this just really helps to soften the groins a little more and allow the lower back to settle a little more comfortably as we release into stillness. And just sensing into the support you feel deep in the lower back. Sensing into how it feels to take care of yourself today. And the invitation is for you to stay and take rest a little while longer if you can. Thank you, beautiful ones, for sharing your practice. See you next time. Peace, peace, peace.